morning. Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak, and this morning, like I told you, some 2.6 million candidates will be writing their final examinations. For KCPE, it is 1.4 million. For KPSEA, it is 1.28 million. And we have some images of a few minutes ago in Nyeri County as various examination center managers reported to the container that obviously has the examination papers. They were there to witness the opening. This has been strategy that has been used by the Ministry of Education for the past few years in manner to contain the examination cheating that was at that time. And so the center managers report there to pick the papers for the day, take them to the institutions to be administered across the day. And various leaders in the education sector are reporting to various sectors, various centers across the country to witness that particular exercise. And we'll be roping in the guests in studio. Of course, you see on the other side, the left side of your screen, that is Nakuru County, where the examination center managers are now receiving the papers for the day. So in studio, I have former Senator of Mandera, Bill Okero. I have Alex Kanyi from CDH Kenya. He's a tax partner there. We have Dr. Joy Kiru, an economist at the University of Nairobi, and Dr. Abraham Rugo from IBP Kenya. And obviously, ladies and gentlemen, this is the final KCPE assessment as we knew it under the 844 system. I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, Dr.
Yeah, I mean, I have mixed feelings because first, I don't think exams are a very good way of testing. So I really like the assessments idea because all that you have studied and done for 8 years, and if you include in kindergarten, 11 years, is tested in a maths paper of less than 2 hours. Anything can happen that morning, and it did happen. So I remember my own KCPE and very mixed feelings, but perhaps a good end of an era. And then the work is actually to build how do we strengthen the assessment process so that then whatever we have at the end is cumulative of what the person has been learning. Right.
Dr. You've been a teacher for many years. What thoughts do you have as you transition?
First and foremost, my heart goes out, and even this morning I was thinking about those children at Mau Forest and the irony of the government just saying, this morning I heard them saying that no child be disadvantaged, and I was wondering, why are they blowing hot and cold? What was so urgent to send those parents away at the time when they did, just before the exams? You have burnt houses, and you keep saying, and you've told people, toroka kabisa, kwenda kabisa, and you are looking at who is being told kwenda kabisa. You are seeing children, you are seeing your grandmothers, you are seeing the old people, and you are saying, where is the humanity in all this? What was so urgent that they couldn't wait for exams, that they couldn't reset? Because these are really poor and landless, the most vulnerable in community. Wasn't there a better way to handle the situation? So my heart goes out to those kids who we are telling that we are not disadvantaging you, but we've chased you from your home, we've burnt your house, but the school is still standing. We'll come and bring it down later, but for now, you are good. And we have no idea where you went to. We have no idea where you slept, whether you got a cold or not. I think my heart goes out to those children. And to the rest of the children, the CBC, we know that the teaching has not been the same in the rural areas and the urban areas. It's a resource-intensive curriculum and system. I saw my daughter coming home with things like from your YouTube or using Google and all that. And I'm like, how many kids have the luxury of doing all these assessment and being at par? I've been presented with a long list of what is required to make this happen. But nevertheless, this is where we are. And I wish everyone the best, and I hope moving forward will make the system better, more practical, and it's going to work for every child in this country. When we tell children that we are taking care of them, that none of them is disadvantaged, we want to mean it, and we want to see it on the ground.
Okay. And former Senator, so the question of inequality has been a problem for many years, including how we're implementing the CBC. You can clearly see there's a difference. First, from urban to rural, across different counties, depending on where they are, but also when it comes to private versus public institutions. Have we learned the lessons of 844 39 years later, that now as you transition to CBC, the mode of assessment will be more reflective of contextual realities on the ground?
No, I hope so. The 844, of course, was devoid of that completely because of the way it was structured, and that the competitiveness was intrinsic in the whole system. It doesn't matter what school you went to, if you are in the remotest school in anywhere in this country where there are no teachers, or you are studying under a tree, or if you're in the best school, you are doing the same exam. But I hope the CBC would be different from what we've been told, that it will be depending on the specific institution because of the skills and all that. But again, I think the question of opportunities, I mean, look, there are institutions you've just talked about which have tools that are necessary for the CBC. They have the facilities. They have those things. Still will create that those inequalities that we have seen in 844. I remember the excitement in the 80s when 844 started. It was deemed to be, and it was, by the way, it encouraged people to read because it was heavy. You had to compete. I mean, for you to survive, it was a survival race wherever you are. Mm-hmm. Whether you are in the top schools or not. So it was always, it's encouraged. I think to some extent it did encourage people to really work hard because it was all about the grades. If you don't score, then you're out. In secondary schools, you're out. In universities, you're out. So that competitiveness became ingrained in our culture, so that even the selection of schools and people would fight for their kids to go to some schools and not to others. But clearly there was that inherent inequality. I mean, the students who are in places where I can tell you, like for example in Mandera, those places where they don't even have labs for some science, so things like some of those sciences, you don't have teachers for most of the schools. You have only 1 or 2 teachers for a whole school with 8 classes. So that level, there was a bit of inequalities really. But I think this one, I hope will be different. And I think of course, at the beginning there are always challenges, teething problems, and these things get started. But I hope they refine it so that that equality, or there's some level of equity in the level of preparedness, in the level of of education, so that people can have that that opportunity. Everyone will have that opportunity in life.
All right, and Alex, we're learning a lot, especially in the current times, post-COVID, and realizing that the future of work is changing or has changed already. Do you think our system of education and how the system is exposing learners to education is helping? Because you're told that competency-based curriculum, you're about dealing with competencies themselves, the capabilities. Are we there? And are there lessons from 844?
First, thanks for having me here. I went to a local primary school, Tumaini Primary School, and I'd like to wish actually those candidates sitting for the exams starting today. I hope they really do well. And to your question, I think this system is being pushed as a skills-based system as opposed to a knowledge-based system. There is hope that talents will be identified quite early and students will be prepared for the future. Mm-hmm. I was recently attending a parents' meeting, and in this particular meeting, we were, as parents of the little children, were being told we are getting your children ready for artificial intelligence at that early age. They're teaching them things that we were not taught in 844. They're basically being prepared for the future. So to your question, whether this will deliver, I think the intention is there, and we hope that soon we'll be able to see the difference between those who went through 844 vis-a-vis those who are going through CBC. Yeah.
Getting to you, Dr. Rugo, so a lot has been changing the past, say, 12 months in terms of even education financing.
Yeah.
To an extent that universities continue to complain, and Dr. Jekiro maybe knows something that we may not. They continue to complain that resources are not trickling in. But then again, there's confusion about how much who should pay, depending on their means. They call it means testing. What are some of the solutions, knowing the fiscal space that the government has at the moment and parents that are actually stretched?
Yeah, I think good concern there. So first of all, I don't get that we have a sense of how best we should finance higher education in this country, and it's partly because of the purpose of higher education. In this country, higher education is largely and was largely coached as that space where you train the elites of the country to find jobs and to find markets. So on one hand, universities are stuck between the core business of universities, which is to impart, to prepare you to be able to go and find knowledge for yourself. That last statement that you say when you're graduating, that you've been given power to read and to do all that pertains to that degree, basically goes back to that core reason of why the universities exist: to research, to develop knowledge, to prepare people to go and engage in further creation of knowledge and all of you, versus preparing people for the job market. So what kind of curriculums should you develop? In the last couple of months, and I'm sure Daktari here would have more insight into that, a lot of revision in terms of what kind of curriculums, what kind of courses, some courses that even students refuse to take up because they say it's not marketable out there. So park that on the side. Then the expansion of universities, which definitely went far way beyond, even our resource envelope, with the assumption that the universities will continue to provide this almost private kind of a service, so that then government does not put in money. So I feel like the growth of universities has been, of course, faster than our resource envelope. There's no clarity yet. What exactly are we financing within universities? Are we financing research or are we financing teaching? Because if you're financing, so what happens in other countries, different models, but largely is that you loan students, you give students loans, to be able to access university education, but you finance universities to do research, to do development of curriculums and programs and the like. So I feel that's where we are caught in between. But where we are going next in this kind of fiscally constrained environment is that we are going largely private, largely that it will be out of pocket in the meantime, until we reorganize, what do we want to achieve with the university institutions, and therefore how much funding. And I still think the bias should be towards research and development, and then provide a mechanism in which students can access financing to be able to provide. Because I don't think it is possible to pay for every student all their school fees through the university education.
Okay.
There needs to be a mechanism in which, because also the numbers are quite huge.
Dr. Jekiro, of course, it's not just the universities that are struggling. Even the learners that will be writing the examinations there, as some of their schools have not been receiving the capitation in good time. If you go to the secondary schools, they were complaining that they have to cut down on a lot of expenditure for them to afford the examination materials, if it's the chemicals that are needed for the practicals in the science courses, or subjects rather. What is going on at the university, and are there solutions that you can devise that are almost a win-win?
Thank you so much. Number one, the crisis we're seeing at the university, some of it has been created from externally. We remember we had the government saying that admit all students. Money is coming. Up to date, no money has been released for first years. We are seeing universities unable to pay salaries. Just next door here wasn't able to pay salaries for last month. I think they did half pay. And the crisis and the problem, and what I am seeing with this is there's a lot of talk in this government about big plans, grand plans of helping people, rather of delivering goods and services to the people, big plans about playing their role that they should be playing, but very little in terms of action. We agree that the fiscal space is very tight. We agree that. But at the same time, they shouldn't make it worse. They should come out clean and say, this is a situation, this is where we are. We saw kids in a university in KCPE being shown on TV, and those are just a few of them that were being shown, how they are living. And we're like, higher education, this is how they are living. Where is the motivation to the other kids? Where is the role modeling? What is the benefit of all this when kids look at how the others are living? So at the end of the day, there's a crisis, and of course there's a role for universities to play. I want to speak as a university lecturer, and I want to say that there's a role for us to look at how should we operate this research, development, and teaching. You find that a lot of universities are focusing more on the teaching. There's a lot of burden on teachers to teach this, teach that. And at the end of the day, and the teaching is also very different. I am the Department of Economics and Development Studies, and we teach 500 students. Sometimes they are more. And 500 is not the biggest class at the Faculty of Arts. We're talking about sociology with about 800 in one class, one lecturer. And you're wondering...
How does that work?
Exactly. We are miracle men and women. We pull it through.
It sounds like addressing a political rally.
It's a political rally.
You're wondering, how does this work? So all those things need to be looked into, because, for example, I would like to focus more on students being able to resolve issues. For example, I tell them, this is how we want this is how this thing works. Give them like the skeleton and tell them, no, go feel it. And I want you to sit in front of me and articulate to me, that is, make a presentation, learning by doing. I would like to listen to them. I would like to connect more with them. I would like to know what they're going through. I would like to know the challenges they're resourcing, what literature they are using. But with 500, I can't even think about knowing their names.
Wow.
It's overambitious. So those are some of the challenges that we are facing at universities. And much as we know research and development is the way to go, the constraints of all that, and then you face the students who are completely disoriented because of how they are living. And the frustration and all that. So a lot has to change. And I'm hoping that CBC is going to be, hoping that it works for all children. It's a good system.
Are you already transitioning to CBC sort of
Not yet.
mode of teaching?
Not yet. Okay. But I'm hoping by the time that comes, the attitude about, you see now the current system we had was about, we used to call it, technically it's called the diploma disease system, whereby people think that the more papers you have, the more chances. So it's about getting a paper after the other, this course. At the end of the day, you've got all this, and then the mentality is like you're going to be the big boss. And you have no idea of employing your technical capabilities or technical skills to create employment for somebody else. I'm hoping that CBC will come and deal with that diploma disease kind of scenario that we've been having.
Diploma disease. Okay. I want us to take a short break because we are here for a totally different issue. The falling of the Kenya shilling. But all of them are connected. We'll talk about that after this short break. But on your screen, those are the live pictures from different locations, Nyeri and Nakuru counties, where the examination center managers are collecting the examination papers. After that, they should be heading to these institutions, and by, is it 8 o'clock or is it 8:30, they should be writing the examination for mathematics. That should be 8:30 a.m. up until 10:30. They should be writing the mathematics paper for this final round of KCPE. We'll be back in a moment.